data-driven.org. Hasham, one more time, thank you, and thank you all for tuning in. The floor is all yours. Feel free to share your screen, introduce yourself, and start with the presentation.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jen and Cloud Data community team for inviting me here. And apologies about just holding you guys a 2-minute delay. So hopefully let's start something. We have a really cool session today. And let me start my screen. And let me know if you guys can see my screen. So today our session is Power BI Learn DAX Basics. So we will try to focus on the basics which have been forgotten about the DAX. So a lot of you have been using the Power BI. Some of you are using it at intermediate level. Some of you are still a beginner level. Many of you are expert level as well. But the most forgotten part about the Power BI is DAX. So what happened is we'll talk about it in a minute. I'll just give you a brief theory about this. It will take only 2 minutes. So what happens is like when you have a complex DAX situation, when you have a DAX requirement coming in, you just go to the Google. Maybe you quickly find out the solution and you just pasted it in your report. It worked and boom, you never know how this DAX work. But if something complex came in, you then again go back to the Google. So this way, what we try to do, we will try to say, okay, how you actually build the DAX for the use cases. We have some different use cases here, and we will try to solve those use cases through DAX. And the overall practice uh, is targeted towards helping you guys writing DAX on your own without any help. You just use the basics concepts to solve the problem through DAX rather than relying too much heavily on the community forums. Community forums are good, Google is good, but you should be able to write the basics DAX and you should be able to transform those DAX into business use case solutions. Okay, so here is my brief introduction. My name is Hasham Niaz. I've been a Power BI consultant, trainer, and author as well. I have won Power BI awards back to back 2 years in 2018 and 2019. I have been MCT for more than 15 years. The most important thing is I have been running user groups around Dubai, Middle East, Asian region. I've been part of several program committees, several global BI conferences as well. So if you want to engage with me, you can hit me on LinkedIn and you can hit me on Twitter as well. But I prefer to have this on LinkedIn. Okay, now start with the session. Like if you are new and beginner, you can download the Power BI desktop, which is a free tool. You can download this from this particular URL. Then the sample data is available at this URL. I have hosted this here. And for DAX, what we are going to use. So DAX Studio, you can download the DAX Studio, and DAX guide is here as well, which is by SQL BI. So, and then you have the official Microsoft documentation of DAX. You can find all the functions, DAX functions there listed down here. DAX guide is a most first way of choice. People go here. So that's why I prioritize first. So talked about today's session, how we align today's session and what we are going to do. So we have some sample sales data, which I have already uploaded just to save time. So we will quickly move on to the exercises. So we have 2, 3, 4 exercises. So let's describe one exercise one by one, and then we will go on to the demo part, because this is the last slide, I think. Yes, this is the last slide. So we will definitely go and do some DAX on ourselves with the blank file. So in our first exercise, we will try to create simple measures, and we will try to understand the difference between implicit and explicit measure. So we have to create sales order, number of orders, and average sales measure. And then in the second exercise, what we will do, we will use some time intelligence functions, and we will try to calculate year over year, month over month, things like that, and year to date, month to date. So we will try to utilize time intelligence function. Okay. Now the third part of the exercise is we will try to calculate some city-wise sales, and we will try to understand what the calculate function is. And we will, and because first 2 exercises will be very simple. These are like 10-minute exercise. Now we will, our most bigger exercise is the exercise number 3, which is calculate function. So we will try to deep down each and every aspect of the calculate function, how different syntaxes and what are the different syntaxes and how the different semantics work in the calculate. Okay. And then in the final part, if we have enough time, because I'm not sure, like we have only 50 minutes here. So we will try to cover the basic difference, which everyone actually forgets and nobody actually answers this clearly. Like what is the basic difference between sum and SUMX? What are the use cases for using sum and what are the business use cases for using SUMX? Where to choose sum and where to choose SUMX. Okay, so these are the 4 exercises. So with this, we will try to have maybe something like this, something we will try to by doing all those decks, we will try to form some dashboard as well. So you just don't have only the textual things, you have some dashboard here as well. So we'll try to mix things up. So here I have a file, which is a blank file. I have loaded a data here. I have loaded data called sales. So I have imported this data from my SharePoint. I have uploaded this file into the SharePoint directory. I bring it. So this is the sales supermarket sales data, which I was talking about that I have already pulled in for you guys. So this is the sales data here. And I have created a calendar table here, which is having a start date and the end date. So this calendar date is start from. And I have created some basic measures, I guess. Yes, I have some basic measures here. And we will try to see the model. The current model is very simple. We have a sales fact table, which is currently connected to calendar table. With this, now let's try to see what our first exercise is. So I have this one called sales. Let's say let delete these measures because let's delete from model. Let's and so we have different basic functions here. We'll try to use those. So okay, now let's save this file for now. So currently this is a blank file and I'm starting with the blank page. I will open one more thing here, which is called my sales. Okay, so our first exercise, if you go back, our first exercise was to create 3 measures: sales, number of orders, and average sales. So how do we create these measures? So the most common thing is like, I don't need to create a measure. The Power BI will do it for me. It's like I can simply drag and drop this slide. I can change this. And this is showing me the sum of sales. This is actually doing this sum, right? So which is 4.24 million, right? So this is my sales coming up. You can type in the questions. I will read the question, try to read the question after 10-15 minutes. I will take the question. So there are different ways to create measures. So first way I create measure, I always align all my measures in my measure table. So this is my measure table. And you can create this table right next, going here into enter data, and you create a blank table. You name it underscore measures. And here in this table, I try to organize all my measures. So I don't need to find my measures into going different different tables here in the model. I just know here and I organize them into the folders. I will just show you in a minute. Okay, now let's try to create a measure. So there are 4 different ways to create a measure. First is like you go to home tab, you click on the measure. That is first way. Second is you click here and you click on new measure. Other than that, you can go to modeling tab. You can click on new measure and then you can here go here and you can click new measure. So these are the 4 ways. So I will prefer to right click here and just select measure. So our first measure name is underscore sales, which is very easy. Now this time what we need to see is we need to see a sum of sales. So I have a column called sales. I can quickly type it in and Power BI will help me with this. So this is a basic format. So you identify the table name and you identify the column name. So this is your sales measure. So once we click, try to format it, we'll just have this one as coming up here. So now let's try to place this measure. So this is coming as same, right? So what is the difference between these two? So the first one, which I drag and drop and Power BI created for me, is implicit measure, right? So this Power BI create it's on its own. And the second one is the explicit measure, which I created and I defined the definition for this explicit measure. So now you might be wondering what is the difference between these two measures? Okay, so now you might be wondering what is the advantage of creating an explicit measure when Power BI actually creates a measure for me by default without writing any code. So the advantage of creating an explicit measure is, if you will see in next exercise, is like you can expand on those explicit measures. You can expand those, you can reuse this, you can recall this, and you can actually write more complex calculation using those explicit measures. That's why we require the explicit measures. Okay. Now we have to create two more measures. So I will try to show you all different ways to create a measure. So now this time I try to create a measure called number of orders. So number of orders, you can simply do it count rows. You can do distinct count. You can, so I will simply do count rows because I know my data set has unique rows here. So I will do this simply count rows. Other than that, you can do distinct count. And you can do the sales and you have the invoice ID column. You can distinct count on those. So I will prefer to do it here count rows for now. There are different methods. Everyone has a different preference. So I will try to keep it simple for now. OK, because we are trying to learn the basics. So you see, I have created this measure here as well. I try to format this one. Now the problem you see is this measure actually created inside the calendar table. So how do I move this from this table to this table? No problem. You can simply click here, measure tools, home table. You will change the home table from calendar to measure. And you see, this has been transferred from this point to this point, right? OK, now we need to create one more measure. Let's create one more measure called average sales. Now what is the, so I will say average sales one. Average sales. Now what we need to do is, usually what people do is people use this average and then they say sales, and they are like done, right? This is a bit of correct way, but I will show you a different method which is more robust and which will provide you more clear picture of the averages. So we will try to rather write this statement as this average. So what usually averages in our math is simply sales divided by number of orders. So this will give us, and you can see with the measure name, we don't identify any table name here. And you can provide the alternate result as well. If you want, you can provide the alternate result. So I have provided this one and I says, OK, fine. Now let's try to have these in a chart. So this is our first exercise. Let's try to have a city here. And then change this to a matrix. And this should be coming up as number of orders, average sales. I will put both here for now, and then sales, right? I will remove these two for now. And let's try to add some flavor to it. How about if we add, I would prefer doing a style none, and then maybe changing the grid to have more row padding. So this looks more clear, right? So we have this one available here. So as you can see, we have this much sales, 1.3 million, and we have 4,000, this 100 orders, 4,700 orders. Okay. And if you want, you can add some more things to it, but we'll do it in a later part. So let's try to this time. Let's try to do it like if I add one more thing here called product line rather than cities, I can try to take this out, right? Okay. So we don't have any problem to this point. Now let's remove this one. Everything is same as it is. So we don't have any problem with our measures. Those are perfectly working fine, right? Any question till this point? So we have almost finished our exercise number 1. Now it's time to move to the exercise number 2. Before moving to the exercise number 2, I will take a 2-minute break to take any questions. If you don't have any question, I will just continue with the exercise 2. So
I
do we have any
think,
question?
yes, we do. Let me quickly, because give me one quick second. There were a question say, what's the difference between new measure and quick measure?
Yes, excellent question. So I haven't defined this, so I leave this to a next part. So the question is like, what is the difference between new and quick measure? So for new measure, actually, when I click new measure, I need to write all the text myself. But Power BI helps you with the quick measure as well. So when you click on the quick measures, there are more than 20 predefined calculations available here. So you can see there are average per category, variance per category, minimum max per category, weighted category, filter value, difference, and the time intelligence, which is most useful year to date, month over month, year over year change, and the running total. And then you have different concatenating functions as well, right? So these are pre-built calculations. So if I click year over year, I will show you in a time intelligence, because this is, if you see, this is the next exercise where we have to implement time intelligence. So I will try to showcase you through the quick measure. So any other question?
No, so far, so
No?
good.
So,
Thanks. By
okay.
the way, great presentation.
Okay, no problem. So I will move to the second part of the exercise now. I'll try to move to the second part of the exercise where let's go back what the second part of the exercise is. Second part of the exercise asks us to create last year's sales and last month's sales last month sales. And then it also asks us to create percentage sales increase measure, year over year increase measure, right? So we need to again have 3 more measures here. So we will do it here. So this time it asked me to create last year measure. And this is the favorite part where we have a lot of different variations available in the last year. So I will click on this one and try to find if we have some calculation for the last year. So I did not find anything. No problem. I will just click it here. I will go here and then I will do the new measure thing. And I will say this is my last year sales. So because we need to find the last year sales, I will give 3 flavors to you guys and it will be up to you. So the first way to create a last year measure is using the calculate function. In all 3 flavors, we will using the calculate function. So first we will say that we need to calculate the sales. And now this time we provide the filter criteria as we say we have a function called parallel period. We'll provide the date table here. And then we can provide interval. And then we can provide this. So how about, I know this will not work because to make these, sorry, to make these works. So I'm just creating a measure for now and we'll validate in a bit. So I'll do it like this. So for all the time intelligence to work, we need a calendar table. So you see, I already have a calendar table. If I disconnect this table for now, just to make this, so I'm disconnecting this table and I'll try to showcase like how and what we are creating it. So there are different ways. We'll try to spend 2 minutes here as well to explain what is the calendar or what is the date dimension. In every data model, date or calendar dimension is the key dimension where you want to slice and dice month over month, year over year, month to date, year to date. So you need to first have a date dimension which links to your facts table. And there are various ways online you will find available for creating a date dimension. One is just to find calendar auto. This is a DAX function. I can use this DAX function to create a DAX date table, which is calendar auto. This argument it can take by default, it is considering as 12. So this 12 means that my month start, fiscal month start at January and end at December. If I want to add at 6. So my next fiscal year would be starting from July to June, right? So I have this one thing. I prefer the other version where I define this thing called, I use the calendar function. So we use calendar function. Previously, we defined the calendar auto. Now we use the calendar function. We can provide the date, and date could be start and end date. So I say to 2018-0101. So this converts to a date, and then I will provide the end date. End date, I'm saying 2022 December 31st. So this way I provide my inner boundary and my outer boundary, or minimum date or my maximum date of my calendar dimension. Once I created this, so this actually populates the table for me, right? If you see, I have this table which is actually showing up all the rows starting from January 2018 to 2020 December, right? So now I need to link this table. In order to utilize those time intelligence function, I need to have a continuous date. So this is the reason to create a date dimension. So we have the continuous date, so we can perform year over year, month over month calculation. So once I do this, I click here, I choose the table, my dimension table, I choose my fact table, I choose the keys on which I want to create. And I define the cardinality here, one to many. Make sure you make it single and your relationship is active. Once I do this, you'll see the relationship is created here. And now I can write my calculation. Even though you can write the calculations without the date dimension, but it is always advisable, best practice to write those expressions. So we have this expression. So what this expression will try to do is like, also here, I will first go here and I will create this to a filter. And this time I say I need to only filter years. So I have some blank years as well coming up, which is strange. And I will say I have this coming up as 2020. Right. So this is actually showing me 2020 sales. You can change this to drop down just to be more slick. And this is 2020, right? So I'm now showing the sales of 2020. Like now let's try to pull this measure up here and see what this is showing. So we can plot this measure right next to our sales measure. And we will see our sales is 1.265 million, and the previous year sales, what it is showing is 1.26. Let's try to do it in a matrix, so which is the easiest way to compare, and then we can actually see what is going on here. We can place a calendar table here, and we can see current years versus last year's sale, right? So this is my current year sale. Now I will create a copy of this page, and I will name this page as validation. So we can come here as well. So now this time I remove everything. I remove everything from here. So you will see what I have. So I have got for year, and let's try to sort this by years. So for year 2020, I have this sales, and if you see year 2019, I have this sales. So I can remove this one for now. So you can focus on the main part, right? So I can see this is matching, and this one is 1.216, and I can say 1.216, which is matching, right? So this is one way. Now let's try to elaborate more on this. How many flavors do we have, and what is the best way? So we can go back here, and we have one more function called same period last year. And I know every one of you is familiar with this one as well. This is the most common used function as well in the calendar. So you can use this as, so it says I already have a measure. Yeah, I know. So I need to change this to a second flavor. I click this. I place this up here, right? So which is returning me the same. And there is one more way. There is always many ways to solve the same problem. So we are just trying to showcase you different ways, and then we will show you a difference between all those things. So now the third method is I can do a date add function. And I will say this is my date. And then I say I need to go back 1 year, right? I save this again. My bad. This is saying me to have this one. OK, now let's try to have this format as well. And let's try to place this measure up here, right? Oh, wow. All these three return the same, right? Now this is the point which everyone needs to focus on. Now, what if I do it like remove it like this? All three return same, no problem. If I go back here, all three return same, right? Now let's try to expand this one. Wow. Anyone notice the difference? Anyone's answer? Because I want the answer from the audience. If somebody actually figures out what is the difference between these three.
Because of the noise, I did remove the access to unmute themselves. Let me give them back that access.
Yeah,
So
they can actually provide an answer. They can always use the chat to communicate.
OK, then that's fine.
So I'm going to the chat and see if we have someone here who is actually pick up. So let me see. So first measure, what we write here is now returning the same value for all the months, right? And the second and the third measure, like let's expand this one for as well. So we can actually see what was going on. So we can see the definition there. OK, so you can see now more clear. If you want, I can hide more things here. This will be more clear. So you can see the first measure what we have written is actually returning the same value for all the months in that particular year. The second and the third measure which I have written actually returning the value based on the month. So if the month is, now go to the validation sheet, and if I add the same thing here, I say I convert this to date, and then I convert this back to date hierarchy here. And I say it like this. I expand this one. And how about if I do something like this? I think this will help a lot. So if I put this one here, and if I put this one here, definitely this will help us, right? This will be easier to I will leave this to default. I will just increase the grid so we can have some more spacing in between, right? And let's adjust this one. Okay, so let's save this file for now and try to understand what is happening around. So thing is like you can go to January and you can go to January 2020 and you can see the sales here as 119. If I go to my page one, I can see January sales is coming as 119. And for year 2019, this is coming as 110. So this is coming as 110, right? But here, the second and third flavor returns the correct result, but the first flavor, which we have written using the parallel period, is not returning the correct result, right? You understand the difference between all those three definitions which we have written? The definition number one using the parallel period, definition number two using the same period last year, and definition number three using the date at variance, right? So this is the difference. So you can say that our second and third flavor are almost same. So now if we want to expand this more and what is the best practice and what you should use. So I would say like this should be the best way using because this provide us the ability to extend as well. Like this time, I currently want to only go back 1 year. How about if I want to go back 2 years? So if I just click this one and you will see this time, this is actually showing me 2018 data because current year is 2020 and this is showing me 2018 data, right? So I can switch between provide the argument and I can actually go forward as well, right? So now this will start showing me January data. So the problem with the same period last year is although it provide correct result, but it is only limited to it going back one period. We cannot go back 2 period or we cannot go forward. So just to make it more robust and more useful and like more extendable. So we use the date at function, right? So any question till this point, you can simply ask into the chat and I will now move to the most exciting part of this exercise where we are going to use some year over year. So now let's try to use some quick measure here as well. So when I do the quick measure and this time I try to do year over year change and I say calculate year over year change based on the base value sales. I want to calculate year over year change for the sales measure. And then I provide the date value and this I provide the number of period. So once I click on this, actually it creates the sales over year measure here and I can again go back and choose the home table, change the home table. So you see what it is doing now. So this is actually doing a calculate and it calculating the sales and using the same flavor which we have already discussed. So this is actually doing the date at function going back one period and the period is year. So it is calculating the previous year sales. Then what it is doing, it is actually for year over year increase. The formula is current value minus previous year divided by previous year. So actually it's calculate the previous year. So if I put it up here, I can see and I need to place this here. So with this, because it fails and the way to fix is this one, right? So you see, even though Power BI generates the DAX for me, but when I know the basics, I can quickly fix those few things. So what it was missing, Power BI was missing. It has the dimension, but it was missing the attribute. So I provide the attribute here and it fixed the value, right? So every dimension has attribute as well. So I provided the attribute hierarchy here. And this is actually, I can see the year over year increase. With this, we have completed the exercise number 2. How many minutes do we have still in the session? I think we have more than 20 minutes. So we can hopefully cover exercise 3 in full detail. Any question? I'm welcoming any question you can ask me. Feel free to ask through the chat. So once we have this one.
I think you have a couple questions. You want to take one or two, or you want to wait at the end?
No, I will prefer to take those questions right now. I would love to have those questions flow in.
Yes, there was a question. The question is, what is the purpose of using calculate?
Okay. So calculate is a function in Power BI, which actually allows you to calculate, reuse a measure. So we have a measure definition which we create, but if we use the calculate function, we can reuse this calculation to calculate more things. So what is happening if I show you here in the last thing? So what is happening here is I already have a sales measure, right? I already have a sales measure. Now, if I want to create a previous year sales, so what I simply do, I reuse this measure using the calculate function, and well, what calculates give me the ability gives me the calculate actually utilize my built-in calculation, and then I can actually provide it the filter factor or the iteration factor. So it actually goes back and iterate through. It's like a calculation. It's doing a calculation and it is running those calculation based on those filter criteria.
And
Right?
then also there is another questions says that what's the difference between Power BI developer and data analysis or Power BI analysis?
Okay. So what is the difference between Power BI report server
Power
and
BI developers. What's the difference between Power BI developers
okay, okay,
and
okay,
yep.
okay. Okay, I got it. So you are asking about what is the difference between who is called the Power BI developer and who is actually the data analyst. So these are the business terminologies. So business users who actually build the reports, use cases, simple reports, simple enough reports, and they can actually do the modeling, some modeling. So they are actually the business users are called the data analysts who have the knowledge of the product. But the developer usually they can actually go back and beyond this simple DAX, they can go back and they can actually do a data modeling thing. They can fix the relationship. They can actually define a data model. What should be the elements of the dimension? What should be the elements in the fact? They can actually design your data model. They can actually design custom visuals. They can write import. They can do a lot of the different depth of the knowledge. They have all the data engineering. They bring the data engineering knowledge as well. So they have all those knowledge, while the data analyst role is like limited to the report canvas. So you can say whatever is built in, data analyst is going to utilize this. Analyst is not going to invent anything, but the developer is going to write the custom codes, custom URLs, and it's going to be like more. But the data analyst is data analyst is the supporting or the front end role where they actually serve the reports using the canvas, right? Hope I answer.
That was a great answer. And we have one more from Wuchi Chen. She said, give me one second, let me go back to this question. She said, can you tell me about parallel period and why it shows different value?
Yes. So the parallel period. So you are seeing that I am just trying to organize all my measures here. And so I can go to the modeling tab here, and then simply I can click and I can write the table names here, orders, and then I have one more. I guess for this one, I say unused because I'm not going to use these ones. And I say this one as unused and this one as unused as well, right? So you see with few clicks, I have actually, if I go back here and you can see how much aligned it is. So all my measures are now into the table and into the folders as well. Order measures are here, sales measure are here. I can actually create subroot folders as well. I created some here as well, so I can see those months, things like that. Now the question was, what is the difference between parallel period and the other function? So parallel periods actually considers the whole year. So it actually does not go back and to consider the months level as well. So the calculation it does at the year level, while the same period last year and the other one date function, this is actually going back to the minimum hierarchy. So if I go back here and I will say one more thing here, I will try to quickly do it like this, and like this. Again, go back. So if I do it like this, now my lowest hierarchy is day level. So if I expand this, so you can see same period last year is actually, oh, sorry, I need to bring this same period last year one as well. So same period last year one is this one. So I forgot this one. So you can see now the difference between, now they both are now providing a different set of results. So this is last year sales, which is actually, if I validate this with my number, January number, so which is 110. So it is not coming as 110, but this one same period last year is coming up as fine. So if I think I made something, I think I have done something here. Let's go back and read the definition. Oh, yes, actually, I know. So rather than putting -1, I wrong typed it. So now you see both these are same. So now even if I go back and click one more, because there is one more level in the hierarchy. So if I can see, and this time I would only select January. Does somebody knows why don't we have? Oh, okay. I got it, because we only have the sales here. What we have the sales data. Actually, this is in a way that we only get one data, one row per month. So this is actually aggregated level data. So you can see all the dates are first of every month. So that's why, otherwise you will see that this is going back to 1 to the 30th, and then both results the same. So they actually calculate at the lowest level of the hierarchy, which is the date. So there, if what I'm saying here is like there are, if you open the date hierarchy, which is the default hierarchy, so this is my lowest level. So they same period last year and the date function, they both calculate at the lowest level, while the parallel period function, which I was using here in the unused thing. So parallel period, it actually calculates it on the year level, whatever the level you provided here. If I change it to month, it will calculate it on month as well. So let's try to do one more flavor here to get you guys used to it, like what is the difference. So now I create one more measure here, and this
It,
time,
it, it, it seems like Wuchi is satisfied. She said thanks.
okay, I will say this, I will just elaborate one more thing here, and then we can see month. So this is month. So using the parallel period, this time I am doing it the parallel period, and we'll do the same here in a minute. So when I calculate this one now, and I place this measure up here, I can remove this one for now. I place this measure up here, month, and I will try to do one more thing up here. Not this one, this one. So let's try this time to calculate the month level. So we'll see now if I go back 1 month and I place this, I name this measure as month because we need those two measures as well. So we have these two measures. So I'm putting these two measures side by side here. So now my month selection is January. Let's do it February for now. And you can see here in the month, I get the January sales and both are showing the same because both are actually evaluating at the same level. Hope this clarifies the issues. Now with this, move to one more exciting part, which is our part 3, which is our part 3. So calculate the different things in the DAX, like understanding the calculate function and utilizing the calculate function. So I will expand this here for because I think you guys are interested in this one. We can expand this a bit. So I say I create a new table here. I go to modeling and I create a new what if parameter. And I say number of month and n months. So I will say this as n month. OK, and I say this could be my whole number. And this could go back to -6, or let's say -12 because you guys will like it. So -12 to 12. So I'm creating a parameter. Actually, what it does is actually creates a table for me with all the values in it from -12 to the 12, positive 12. And this time, if I say here, so now this is I'm actually going to use this to my ease. So now I want to provide user the ability like how many months go back and forward they want to go. So you remember the one flavor which we have created earlier where I suggested you to use this one called number of years, right? So I suggested used to use date at function rather than simple because we can extend. So I have this function called here. So now I'm going to try. I'm now going to complex my DAX a bit. So I say var, and this is I think it would be easy if we copy paste. So just try to save some time here. So now I have this function. I have this statement, which is actually I'm defining the maximum date. I'm actually getting the maximum date of from my calendar table. I'm getting a minimum date of my calendar table. Now I'm actually trying to get the n months value. So to do that, I need to have it something like this. So I have this n months here. I'm not sure how I can see. Yeah, I can find it out. So with this, I'm actually getting the n month value. OK, whatever the selection I made. And then I'm actually checking if the n month value, or maybe simplify it for just for now. Now, here I'm saying this one. So I will just come back to this statement. So I'm saying this time I'm trying to use the dates in period. So I'm trying to populate all the dates in my model. So I have all the dates, which is I provide the date dimension. I provide the starting date. I provide the number of months. So number of months, if you remember, this is coming from a slider, which I provide. And then I'm providing the interval. Interval is month. And what I'm doing, I'm returning the calculate. And then rather than writing this whole statement date add function, I provide the dates in period. So what this will do this time, what this will do is like I can show you here. We can go here and we can get rid of some of the columns here because we don't need those columns here. We will do it like this. Maybe this one is enough for us. So we'll keep all those three. I will try to make a copy of this one and this for now. And I will just make all the selections there. OK, so now this time what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to actually plot this table here, which is actually giving me the sales for last n months. And if you see currently the parameter is at 3. So this is actually going forward. So if I want to see last 3 months, so you see, this is actually calculating the sales for me. How I can verify this one? So just to verify this one, what you can quickly do is you can go back here. I can get rid of this one for now because we are more interested in the new thing we built. So this is my sales for this month 119. And this is I'm saying this is the sales for last 3 months. So if I go back, I just fix this calculation for now. So I will have, because this is actually checking if the number of period is positive, then using the minimum date, otherwise using the maximum date. And I click this one and then we will do the calculation here. So I fixed this one. This min max date here. Now you can see this is minus 3 months. So 3 months from January should be like these 3 months. So if we do the addition of these 3 months, or simply if I place a filter here just to ease up my validation. So if I place a filter here called based on months, I say this is going to be my filter and I'm only going to filter list and horizontal. So let's say if I only want to have these 3, right? So I was on 2019 January, but I need to have the data for these 3 months, right? So this is coming up as 271. So if I go back here, this should actually OK, why this is not working? So this should be actually 271. OK, from January, because this is January. What? Oh, sorry, we have forgotten to make the selection here. So if I now make the selection, now this is actually I selected January 2020. So this is now going back 3 months. So which should be, or if I select, try to select December 2020. So this should be 3 months should be 2020 December and then going back to September. So if I do it like this, so if I go to the validation sheet and I make the same selection, so I select all those 4 period. So sorry, all those 3 December. So and if I check this for 2020, because this was my selection, you can see this is coming as 298K, right? Which is up here 298K, because these are the 3 months which should be coming up here, right? And this is showing the individual sales for December, which is 101, right? If I click this one to -5 for now, and now here this time I made a selection from starting from December and I include these 5 months. So this should show 504K. So if you go here, this is now showing 504K. How about if I go forward? So if I go forward 3 months from December, it should be January and February for the next year. So if I now this will be complex because then we need to count. So let's try to do it like this. I have these 3. I have selected December and then I need to go back and select Jan and Feb, right? So what ideally it should do, it should actually add up these 238K and it would give me 238 plus. It would select the December one because I have the selection for December as well. So for December, it is going to be 101K. So it should be somewhere around 339K. So you can see this is somewhere around 339K, which is correct. So this, you see how we can go back and forward between the periods. Any questions? I'm happy to take those questions here.
To be honest with you, this is an excellent presentation. Let me ask one question. How long did it take you to prepare this presentation?
I think no time.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah, because
actually, I do these presentations on the fly. I have many different flavors of the presentation. So I have like these 20, 30 files, and I can pick a random file and I try to do it randomly. So
actually,
I'm like more a workshop kind of a guy where I
yes.
go with the flow and I do different things. And do we have some time left or we are running out of time?
To be honest with you, we still have about 45 people with us, but I gave them access to unmute themselves. The way I'm enjoying your presentation, there might be more people want to enjoy it as well. Would love to see you doing the last demo. I'm not sure if there are any attendees. Would love to see that. Are you guys? Would you like Hasham to carry on, or do you guys want to stop now? You guys do have access to unmute yourself. If there's no response for 15 seconds, I think you are welcome to carry on. But in the meantime, let me read you a few questions, if you don't mind. Um, uh, this is from
Hassan,
Sheikh.
I think so. You can carry on and confirm me the difference between the sum and SUMX. As you said, that is the last thing given.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Just give me 5 minutes. I just need to drink some water and then just maybe 2 minutes. I will be back in a minute. Thanks. Meanwhile, you can type the questions. I will just take a 1 minute break and then I will come back. Okay. Uh, Thank you, guys. I'm back. So we can have another 5-10 minutes. I can continue and let's see how far we can go. So I will now make a copy of this page again, and I will say this as page 2. Now this, since we are still on the exercise number 3, I will try to finish up this exercise before we can have more. So I will just clear some space, save this page for now. So what our exercise 3 asks us to do. So exercise 3, we have done this measure thing. We have done this percentage over year over increase thing. So exercise 3 asks us to create 3 measures. So to calculate sales, each city sales using the calculate function. So somebody asked earlier as well, like what is the purpose of calculate? Why do we use calculate? So let's try to answer this one as well. And before that, I will just move some space up here and I will say move this to unused and this one to sales. And you can do it like like always organize this one. These are organized up here as well. So we have till this point, I think you guys are good. Let's do three. We need to create three measure because we have three cities here. So I will try to create a measure here called underscore by and then sales. OK, so I will say this as one, and here we have different flavors as well. So I will use the same calculate function, and I ask it to calculate the sales for me. Now I can have this like I can say city equals Dubai, right? Which I suppose is fine. How many of you guys? So I will create first version using this. I will create three versions first here. And then we will change the measure table. So I create another measure. This time I said this as so we have a filter function in DAX as well. So what this does, this actually filters the table, and then we can actually provide the filter expression. And this time I'm providing the filter expression as Dubai. This is my filter expression, and I have a third flavor as well. I can do it like this. And then I create one more measure here, which is going to be this one. And this time I would probably do it like we have already done this one, right? If I go back here, city. Do I have this one in the file? Just give me a second. Yes, this. Yes. This time I'll copy paste this thing here. This time, this is my third version. And I say filter clause 1, filter clause 2. And I close this one, close out, answer. OK. Now here, I place this measure and I change this to a matrix visual. And I place this up here. I place this up here, right? OK, so all three are giving me the correct results, which is 35, because this is my sales, right? For Dubai, for this particular year. If I change the year, you can see 34, all these three changed to 34. So what is the difference between all those three? Can anyone explain? Because I want to hear the answer, because this is the basic part and most people actually does not understand this basic part. Like what is the difference between all those three flavors?
You guys do have access. Feel free to unmute yourself and talk instead of type because, we are over 10 minutes. I think talk would be faster for all of us.
Yes. So anyone going to provide me the reason? I think I need to provide it. No problem. OK, so all three are same, right? But if I just change a single thing here, I think all of you will be able to answer it. So what happens now? What happens if I just place a city or if I place any other type, customer type? So what is happening now? So if I place a city here, what it is doing, what it is doing in the first statement, it actually filters the city, right, equals to Dubai. And for each city, it is returning the same value, right? Now, what happens in the second and the third case? So in the second statement, what it does, it actually filters out the table, sales table, where all the rows are city name equals to Dubai. So it actually gives me only this table, which only has the Dubai table, and all filter out all other rows. So that's why all those other cities coming as blank and this coming as city. The third one, what I'm doing here, you can see I can write n number of filters, right? I can provide n number of filters here. And this is like most people actually struggle to understand, like what is the difference between filters and filters. So filter is a function which I can use as a DAX function to filter out the table. And then what this filter inside the calculator is the expression which I can provide, the filter expression. So I say filter the table sales and filter it based on city sales, where city sales equals to Dubai, right? So this is working. So what it is doing, it is first filtering out the table and then it is filtering out based on city sales, right? Now, what if I do it like this? If I remove this like this, what will happen? It actually fails. OK, give me a second. Right. So you know the difference between the first is actually only checking like, OK, I need to provide whatever the Dubai sales is. It does not check either I need to provide at this level or not. It provides the same result for all the members. Now let's try to more complex this by including the customer type here. So what will happen now? So if I add customer type here, and you can see what is going on. You can see it actually providing 35 for all those again, all these measure. And same. So this is the way where most of the DAX calculation messed up, because people do not understand. They think, OK, they say, OK, Dubai sales is fine, 35,000, which they actually managed to validate. This is correct. But then they did not validate either this is coming up against the correct element or not. So they still use this statement, and then all the you can see all the total output. It might messed up, it might messed other calculation as well if you are using it. So beware of this calculate flavors which we have seen. So the correct flavor is like the two. I always prefer to have the explicit filter on my table. So I know that I am explicitly filtering it out and I do not get any other results. Any question, please free. How about if I do, because I was doing some changes here. How about if I do it like this? So what is happening now? This was I was trying to show you. Now this was now returning the sales for each city, which is same as the first one, right? So there might be some scenarios where you want to use this one as well. So this might be any other filter, or this might be coming up another expression as well. OK, now we I think have last 5 minutes, because I think I need to just wrap it up. Some other meeting is going to start in a few minutes.
Hassan, one thing, I think so this is because filter creates a subset of the table.
Yes, this is what I said, that this only returns those rows. This one only, sorry, not this one, this one. So this one actually filter out the table and only give you only those rows where we have Dubai. right? And
Right.
then when
Yes.
it goes for Dubai, it is returning the output, but for other members, it does not returning the output, right?
Yeah.
Hope
Yeah.
this clarifies.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the third part is like, let's try to touch this exercise, and I will leave the rest of the exercise with you guys to figure out the difference between sum and SUMX. So this is the most favorite topic for me because I see still a lot of people are struggling with this idea of sum and SUMX. So let's say we have a measure. So we already have a measure. Let's say we create a new measure called sum. And this will be simple sum. And this is sum of sales. So I have this formatted as well. And then I just copy paste this example. And I create a new measure again. This time I use the SUMX. This is, I cannot. Okay. Does it create? Okay, we have to wait for the Power BI to respond. So we say table as sales. Fine. So we have fixed, like, we provide the table name and this. And let's try to pull these up. And always the best is like, I always prefer to do it like matrix or a table. You can use matrix or a table. So why these two return the same results, and what is the difference between these two? So I find it like very rare that somebody actually answered this question because nobody actually clears, and a lot of people do write a statement using sum. A lot of people do write a statement using SUMX. So what is the difference between sum and SUMX? So this is kind of exercise for you guys to try to figure it out. Like, even if I go to the hierarchy level, it is actually returning with the same results. So why all the fuss about like using sum and SUMX? Why in some cases you might see people using SUMX, some cases people might see using sum. So what is the difference between? So anyone has an idea about it? Although these two, the way I write it, those two returning the same result. So can we say that these two are the interchangeable statements, and we can interchangeably reuse this statement? Can we use some kind of a statement like this? How about, let's try to play some fun part here. How about if I do it like sum, and here we have a thing called order. Oh, I don't think we have order here, right? How about if I write this calculate, and I try to write this expression as sum, and have two measures. I'll try to write this as sum of count rows. Let's see if this work. Sales. And this multiplied by sum of sales. You guys trying to understand what I'm trying to achieve following? So actually I'm trying to multiply this 31, 672, 78 into 107. So which is giving me right, correct? Okay. How about if I write something, if I try to write something like this here? Calculate count rows and sales. Yeah, sales table. Let's see how the scopes. So any guess what is going to happen? No fun. It is actually returning the same result, right? How about if I place two more measure here, which is called orders, and the other measure called sales. So I can compare all those four side by side. So I did not see any variance. So where is the variance? So how do we know that these two are not equivalent and these two are meant for different purposes? So if I do it like this into count, or maybe simply do it like this, count rows sales. This is going to be the same. It's going to be the same, right? So what actually is the difference between those two? Can anyone just try to make my day here and provide me the answer? How about if I do it like this? Will this work? And how about if I make this like ideally these two are same statement, right? Because what I'm doing here in SUMX is like I'm taking the sales here and I'm taking the sum. How about if I use something like called, because we have a measure called sales. We are still having the same result. And if I do it like in the calculate, anyone still come up with the suggestion like what is the difference? Why all those are matching and why we don't see a different result?
There
This
is
one,
someone say something. Is that right? SUMX we are taking from table and then the column.
yes, but why both are giving me the same result? However, I'm changing the expression, it still gives me the same output. Where is the difference?
Isaac, would you mind to unmute yourself and talk? Would you mind? You do have access to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yep. Then that's fine.
So I think some calculates we are taking the directly from the column, and some X we are taking the first the table and then the column.
Okay.
So that is what I see.
That is the okay. This is the syntextual difference, but why they are giving me the same result? So the SUMX, let me answer you this one is in a way, the SUMX actually can go back and iterate. So what is with the calculate? The calculate function can iterate. The sum cannot iterate actually. It cannot loop it back. So if you want a condition like you want to loop it back and you want, then you can use the SUMX, right? So what I'm doing here with the calculate function, I'm using a measure here, right? So if I want to have this like this, I can have it without calculate, but with the simple SUMX, I can use the column. And the most always prefer to use the measures here in the SUMX. What people do mistakes here is like they use it like this, something like sum. Let me give you one example here. Just save it for now. I'm actually trying to find a column here in my data set to just showcase the case here. Yes, quantity and unit price. OK, I'm trying to multiply this and this, right? And we will see the difference. So I will say this as sum unit price into UTY not sure if the name of the column is quantity. Okay. And this we have. Okay. So now let's try have this thing built up here. Okay. Keep an eye on this number. Now let's try to build the same expression here and the sum. So can we build this expression here? Right, we can. So we will using the unit price. And we'll be using the sum and then the quantity, right? I think both are equal. So you see what is the difference between sum and SUMX. Now, if you go to the SUMX expression, you say we are doing the same. We are actually summing it up the unit price and then we are summing it up by quantity, right? Why? But then why these two does not match? Now, what you are doing with sum is you are doing the same, or maybe let's simplify this. Remove the calculate from here. Let's see if it's match at the row level as well or not. So if we do it like this, anyone understand my point? What is happening? So what is happening now is actually at the Abu Dhabi. So we place one verification chart, or maybe we turn this to a verification chart here, and we remove everything else from here. And what I'm doing here now is I'm summing up. I have the unit price. I have the quantity. I have the unit price. So you see these two columns. And with this, what is happening with the SUMX is like 576621 into 560. This should be happening, right? You guys all thinking that this should be happening. This should be multiplied by this in this case, in the case of SUMX, but it is not happening. What rather it is doing, it is, oh, sorry. 576621. So this should what you guys would be thinking that 576621. Oh, sorry, this is 0.21. Yes, this is the decimal place. And this should be simply added up with 560, which is happening in your sum. Which is happening in your sum. But why this is not happening in your SUMX? Because it is actually doing it like each row, and it is going iterating it to the level for every row within those. So if this has 15 rows, Abu Dhabi has 15 rows, or whatever the 12. Ideally, this should have 12 rows because these are 12 number of months. So we have every city has 12 sales. So this is actually going back into the 12th time and then summing it up. So this is the difference. And that's why I say never use these measure up here. Try to create a measure. Now I will leave this as it is, and I will create two more measure here just to give you more context to it. So let's say we have unit price equals to sum of unit price, which is correct. And then we create one more measure here, which is called quantity, QTY. equals to sum of quantity, right? We have this one as well. So now let's try to place these two measure here as well. So I can compare these two side by side, which is correct. So I can get rid of this implicit measures for now. So I have these two measures here. And in my sum expression, I can still utilize those measures. So rather than having this, I can use this unit price and I can have an addition with QTY. OK, so this will be same 19. So now in the SUMX, what I'm doing here, I am actually going to use the same now. This time I say underscore unit price plus underscore QTY. Try to see what this is now bringing back. Right. So anyone knows why that was happening and why what was the bug with that previous statement? I think one of the participant can answer taking time. So that's why when we use the implicit, or you could say these expressions inside the SUMX, like here, if you use these expressions, I would say SUMX1, and I will make a copy. So it would be very easy for everyone to understand the. Did I make a copy yet? Max2. And I'm saying what I'm suggesting here, rather than using this, use the explicit measure, because this is the main pain point, because people do not understand the difference. Like they say these both of these SUMX and SUMX1 are equivalent expressions, because this is doing the sum, this is doing the sum. We have those sum here up as, but it's not the case. You can see clearly this SUMX1 is different than SUMX2. So always try to use a measure, create a measure, simplify the calculation into a measure, and then try to wrap it up inside the complex expression. So this is the most common mistakes people do, and they do not able to answer this one. Why this is different between this and this. Now, hope you understand the concept, you understand the difference, what are the best way and how to get your basics correct. I think I have overran 30 minutes or maybe more.
I think, yeah, I think we can end now because, yeah, we don't want to hold people too long. Actually, that was an amazing presentation, and I would love to say thank you to you and thank you to everyone else. If no one have any questions, feel free to ask the questions, and if there's no questions, I'll be happy to end the meeting now and say thank you to all attendees and our speaker, Hasham. Hasham, by the way, it is an honor to have you here. I enjoy your presentation. I am more into administration engineering than analysis, but I learned so much. I think now I'm a bit curious. It seems like you make me fall in love with Power BI.
Excellent to have such nice comment, and it was an honor to come to a user group and present, because this is our love for the technology, that we train the people and then we try to actually have those people solve those business problems, correct those basics, and then able to solve the problems on their own. So they don't rely on the Google and any other helps. They can actually solve themselves and they can teach their team members as well. So it is an honor to have me on the user group. Thank you very much, Jane. If you don't have any question, I will just say thank you, everyone. Enjoy. Goodbye. Good evening.
Thank
Good
you.
afternoon, wherever you are.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.